Tuesday night, everybody, and welcome back to another video. And I do apologize that this video is a little late getting out, but I wanted to see a certain movie a second time to actually film this video and tell you my thoughts. So this video is going to be my thoughts on the Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy. So I watched the first one last Monday and the second one last Tuesday. And then I saw the third one for the first time last Thursday. Then I saw it again tonight. So let's go ahead and talk about it. So this is a trilogy that started way back in Phase 2 in 2014, and then its sequel came out in 2017, and now May 5th of this year. So for this video, I want to talk about all three and give you a ranking at the very end. So this is a similar video to my thoughts on the Ant-Man trilogy. So let's go ahead and get started with Guardians of the Galaxy. And this is the story of a ragtag team of criminals that meet by chance, and they are up against Ronan the Accuser, and they also get a first glimpse at Thanos. So in this movie, Star-Lord is played by Chris Pratt, and Gamora is played by Zoe Saldana. Rocket is played by Bradley Cooper. Drax the Destroyer is played by Dave Bautista, and Groot is played by Vin Diesel. So these are 5 misfit aliens and people, and this just starts off like literally one of the best Marvel teams still going today. So yeah. This is just their origin story, and the way they meet, they literally end up in like the same space prison, and they break out and form the Guardians of the Galaxy. But their big bad in here is Ronan the Accuser, and he's kind of like a sidekick for Thanos. But you also meet Nebula in here, which is Gamora's sister, played by Karen Gillan. She pretty much turns out to be like a third villain, if you will. But she really comes around as these movies progress. But I really, really do enjoy this movie quite a bit. And I cannot forget to mention the soundtrack to this. To me, this is probably like the best soundtrack of the trilogy. This has songs like Come and Get Your Love by Redbone, Hooked on a Feeling by Blue Swede. It has yeah. I Want You Back by Jackson 5. That was the song I was thinking of. Fox on the Run by Sweet, and many, many more. This is one of my favorite MCU movies still to date, and I've watched this quite a few times, and I still very much enjoy it. When this was announced, I was very skeptical because I've never even heard of Guardians of the Galaxy. I saw it and I automatically fell in love with it. So, if I were to rate this, I would easily give it an A. Simply because it is a great origin story for these characters, and they really came around in later sequels, and especially the Infinity Saga. But I'm just going to focus on the Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy. But I almost forgot to mention Yondu, played by Michael Rooker, which he also plays a more prominent part in the second one. So I'll just talk about Yondu in the second one. But he's basically Peter's guardian, because his mom died when he was 8 years old of cancer, and her cause of death is more explained in the second one, which I will definitely get into in a minute. But I just wanted to cover everything that I remember from this movie. It still is a really fantastic sci-fi adventure. So, yeah, that's Guardians of the Galaxy. Moving on to the sequel made 3 years after, Volume 2. And this pretty much expands the world more, and they encounter the Sovereign, which is kind of like a race of gold people, if you will. Well, they're more like cyborgs, and their trouble with them starts when they have to like slay like this giant monster at the very beginning, and they steal like batteries from them. This whole movie is about the Sovereign being on a chase with the Guardians of the Galaxy, trying to get their revenge. But that's like a side plot here. This whole movie introduces Peter's unknown dad, Ego, the Living Planet, played by Kurt Russell. So, like I did mention a couple minutes ago, Peter's mom dies at the very beginning of the first one because she has cancer, and it's later revealed that Ego put a tumor in her head, and it breaks Peter because he loved his mother, and she always had like this little mixtape for him to play. That's why you hear like an awesome soundtrack in all 3 of these. And this soundtrack features more 70s pop and disco, of course, kind of like the first one. So this one still has that more retro soundtrack sound stuff. And you also meet Mantis in here, which is later revealed in the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special as Peter's half-sister. I did not like this character at all in this movie, because I thought that she was a little bit annoying and insecure, and she was very, very weak. But as the movie progressed, she got stronger and helped out the Guardians defeat Ego. Her character arc comes full circle in Volume 3, which I'll talk about here in a minute. But I really do enjoy this movie. I know a lot of people say that this is bottom tier MCU. I don't think that at all, but this is probably like the third tier for me. So it's pretty much like a B movie. It's a really, really fun movie, and it has like one of the most emotional endings, like pre Infinity War. It's the death of Yondu Udanta, played by Michael Rooker, which his power was controlling an arrow by whistling. I know it sounds lame, but I love the character of Yondu. He was one of the best characters of the Guardians. And it literally broke me when he froze in space. I mean, there was like no way out for Star-Lord or Yondu. One of them had to survive, so Yondu sacrificed himself. And it's just a beautiful ending to this movie. And not to mention, there are like 5 mid-credit scenes in this movie. The most of an MCU film. I know they're very small, but it also teased the coming of Adam Warlock, which I'll talk about here in a minute. But my final thoughts on Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, I would probably give this like a B minus. But it is still a really, really fun movie. It has cringy humor, but it is not as bad as Thor Love and Thunder. But yeah. Those are my thoughts on Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. And finally, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. This is the conclusion of the Guardians of the Galaxy as a whole. And it's a tearjerker, I'm telling you that much. So, this movie is solely focused on Rocket's backstory, and it is tragic. So, the High Evolutionary, played by Chudwu Iwuji, something like that. He is God in a sense, because he created like different species, and he does unspeakable things to animals in this movie. Which I'm going to tell you, if you're an animal lover, you are not going to enjoy this movie, because there is some horrendous animal experiments in this movie. So, the whole movie focuses on this as Rocket is attacked by Adam Warlock. And that's what sets up the whole character arc for Rocket. So, Adam Warlock was a creation created by the Sovereign, and Aisha, which is like the High Priestess, she's like his mom. And he's kind of like a fish out of water kind of character, where he's not fully developed and he really doesn't know what he's doing half the time. His character was fine, but he came full circle in the end, which he actually saves Star-Lord in the near end of this movie. But going back to Rocket, the High Evolutionary kept him since he was a kid, baby. And Rocket's intelligence grew to unbelievable lengths, and he believes that the perfect society is going to be his one day. But it is very much mistaken when Rocket meets three of his new friends: Lila, which is an otter; Teeths, which is a walrus; and Floor, which is a rabbit. And let's just say, don't get attached to these characters, because it is very heartbreaking what happens to them. I mean, it's not really happy whatsoever. I kind of teared up a couple times watching this movie twice, but it's an excellent story with actual stakes, and yeah. But let's not forget about Gamora's role in here. She's kind of in the background because she is past Gamora, and she still thinks that she's part of Thanos' bloodline. She knows who Nebula is, but she didn't accept her role in the Guardians of the Galaxy because she still doesn't trust these guys. She's actually part of the Ravagers in this. But her role comes around almost full circle because she still goes back with the Ravagers, but she still helps out everybody. And the soundtrack on this one is kind of more modern. I mean, there's 80s and 90s and even 2000s. But the way this movie ends, it's kind of like a happy ending. And they play Dog Days Are Over by Florence and the Machine. It's a very glad ending to a very depressing movie. And I enjoyed every minute of this. It's definitely in talks of being in my best of the year list. And after seeing this movie twice, I can now say that this movie could easily be in my top 5 favorite MCU movies. So, I highly recommend it. And overall, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 gets an A+ for me. Despite the fact that some of the villains needed work, but the story is just fantastic. And those are my thoughts on the Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy. Hope you guys enjoyed, and look out for my Fast X movie review. That'll be coming out next week, so other than that, I might actually film a book review on How to Sell a Haunted House maybe tomorrow, so look out for that. But other than that, I really need to start thinking about filming ideas, because May is kinda sparse, if you will. Yeah, there's not that many movies coming out this month to talk about. But I still have like Fast X and maybe The Little Mermaid to talk about. But I'll see you guys in my next video. Hope you guys enjoyed. And I'll peace out. Adios.